From the Casey State Bank Digital First Studio at WTWO, this is the Goin to the Hoop podcast. Sponsored by Terre Haute Chevrolet, Indiana State University, and Kirshner Building Centers.
Welcome to this week's Going to the Hoop podcast with director Luke Knight, Nicole Christine. I am Grant Pugh. We have a jammed-packed show for you this week. Nicole, special guest, head coach Josh Schertz of the Indiana State men's basketball team is going to join us in just a few minutes. But what a week. High school basketball. We're in the month of February. A lot of big basketball games coming up, starting with the Sycamores. They got a big game against Murray State this weekend.
Yeah, and talking to Coach Schertz and just knowing overall what's at stake here. You know, we talk about the MVC. We talked about the MVFC during football season. We talk about the MVC week after week, how impressive it is. You're really seeing that start to form now. You got 8 teams, right, that are really competing for that top spot.
It's insane how close the Valley is.
Yeah, and Murray State, I mean, a game that they didn't perform too well with, I think it was, less than 2 weeks ago. But Coach Schertz, you know, he's been able to get his guys back on track, and just talking to him about like what he wants out of his guys. And we know he wants that. I think he says fresh legs, clear mind. He wants that fast pace. You know, he's more about points per possession than points per game. He's more about making everything count. And you can tell that he really takes each game as in that same vein, right? You know, every game matters, every game counts, and of course it does. And so when you get into these big competitions, you know, this is where it all happens. This is where you really see, and I love that there's so many teams in the MVC that are competing for that top spot, because seeing ISU up there and in the mix is really exciting, and Terre Haute should be excited.
They should be. There was a great crowd last weekend. They got the home win, stopped the streak against Northern Iowa. Looking for a big crowd Saturday. They host Murray, 4 o'clock Eastern time. And they're 8-5 now. Mm-hmm. You know, they lost 5 straight. They've won back-to-back now. They're 8-5. They're only a game out of first. The team in first place is 9-4. So the Valley standings are neck and neck. And this is a Murray State team coming in that won at Belmont last night. Yeah. So it's Murray State's first year in the Valley. They were a tough program coming from the OVC. Should be a great game Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. And that's not the only big game happening Saturday at 4 o'clock.
That's
We've got
true.
IU and Purdue, number 1 team coming into Assembly Hall. Should be a lot of fun.
It should be. And, you know, I'm going to, for a second, step back from being, you know, an IU alum, obviously an IU fan. And from a basketball fan perspective, you really can't ask for anything better. You know, that aside, just like enjoying the game of basketball, you've got 2 really great programs. Purdue just proving that they do deserve to be at that number 1 spot. Zach Edey, the best player in the country. And then you're facing off against an IU team that just loses to Maryland, you know, goes on the road. And I don't necessarily think they overlooked Maryland. I don't think that was the problem. They just weren't performing well at all. I mean, we were talking about how Hood Shafino could barely get it going. Malik didn't really step up yet again. You know, Trace can't carry everything on his back. And it seems like in some of these games he's had to. And, you know, Race doesn't seem like he's 100% back. And you've got these guys that, you know, can come in and make a few plays, but you need somebody to really back him up. And we've seen that in some of their other games, people being able to step up. But then you go to Maryland and you just kind of see them fall flat. And that's nothing against Maryland. Maryland's a good team. You're talking about like the Missouri Valley, the Big Ten is loaded. And so, you know, Maryland was on a streak and they continued that. But I do think that it's going to be an uphill battle, regardless of it being at Assembly Hall. I think it's going to be an uphill battle. And I hope that the Hoosiers, putting my fan hat back on, you know, come to play, because it could get embarrassing if they don't come and show up right away.
You feel like this is a good spot for IU to bounce back. Not necessarily, we don't know if they're going to pull the upset, but after that poor performance we saw against Maryland, it's time to bounce back at home. Your arch rivals coming in. We know Assembly's going to be rocking. You got all, you know, mid-morning to get your tailgating in and stuff, and it's going to be a lot of fun as we get set for Saturday.
And also, you know, looking at IU's schedule through February, like they can't look at of course they've got Purdue again, but they can't look at this game and just, you know, they have to look beyond it. And they do need to use this, regardless if they win or lose, as a, you know, momentum building game, because they've got Illinois coming to play. And that game obviously went in the Hoosiers' favor, but you know, Illinois is going to come back hungry after that loss at home. And so I think that they're just going to really need, I agree with you, they're really going to need to get some good takeaways from this game, win or loss, and really play together and have somebody other than Trace really step up.
Yeah, use this as a springboard. We're going to springboard right back to ISU. We like to call ourselves foodies, Nicole, but
Yes.
Coach Schertz is quite the foodie himself. You're going to find out. He joins us for our Going to the Hoop interview when the podcast rolls on right after a look at Luke Knight made our top plays of the hoop season so far. Welcome back to our Going to the Hoops podcast. We have a special guest this week, fresh off a big win against the Evansville Aces and a sweep of Evansville. It is the head coach of the Indiana State men's basketball program, Coach Schertz. Coach, welcome to this week's show. We're so happy you came down to the studio.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Grant. Thanks for having me down.
Just hours away, removed from a big win last night on the road, a comeback, a game of runs against Evansville. But how nice was it, A, to get another road win, and to B, to sweep your in-state rival this season? I know that was a big one.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage of the year, everyone is big, and certainly, you're playing against Evansville, who's is really dangerous because they haven't won a conference game yet, and so there's that, and then you also know they're playing better, right? They're trending in a good direction, and they're obviously desperate for a win. They're playing a little bit free and easy, and we went out, and I thought they, it was probably from my standpoint in terms of pendulum swings, maybe the craziest game I've coached, and I've about 500 and some games into my career or so. But they were up 12-2 and called timeout. Then we went on a 34-11 or 35-11 run, and they closed the half 13-0. And then second half was a little similar. We got up, and so we wound up getting it done though, and big road win. And everyone in this league is great. So you just cherish it and for about an hour or two, and then you got to get on to prepping for the next game.
Yeah, we've been talking about that, the NBC. There's so many great teams. You see the graphic that comes out saying that it's just neck and neck. What are you telling your guys to get them prepped game after game to face off against these great opponents?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think the thing in this league is you learn is you can't get too high and you can't get too low. Because your fortunes can do a 180 every week, right? I mean, going into this past week, Southern Illinois and Belmont had 2 losses and they were ahead of the field, and now they lose 2 games in a row, and we were 6-0, and then we lost 5 straight, and now we've won a couple in a row. And the biggest thing you can do is I told these guys all year is just focus on coming in, working every day, trying to get better and trying to grow. And, because if you get locked in a result, you're gonna kind of be on a roller coaster in this league, because the reality in this conference is you can go somewhere and play really well and lose. And that's how good the teams are and how tough the competition. You could get, a bad break. I mean, we obviously, the Drake game, we've had, Missouri State 2-point game in the row. We've had chances and had some heartbreaking losses. And, the thing you can't do is let one become two. And when you win one, you can't, relax and not be focused for your next game. So that's the hardest part, is making sure that you can respond to the successes and the failures the right way, so you're ready for each turn at bat.
Take me through, today, a day after game day. I mean, you guys, you and your staff, the players, everyone's always so busy. It's always a late night. I'm sure you guys got back late after the Evansville drive last night. So you're automatically, of course, going through last night's film, but you also want to prep for a big game this weekend with Murray State. So take me through a typical game, day after a big game day like last night.
Well, you get on the bus and you do your media obligations, and so we played the game at 7 Central, 8 Eastern, and so we probably got on the bus. It was probably close to 11 Eastern, and I used that 2 hours to people were watching the Northern Iowa Drake game, so there was a little bit of that going on. I use it to usually watch film of the game we just played and try to clip that. I usually try to watch each game twice, so. Watched it on the way home, and then got home and finished up. And I think around 3 in the morning, got to bed, got to sleep for a little bit, and then I'd already done a little bit on Murray State, but then woke up and really dove deep into Murray State. So when we met as a staff this late morning, that we were ready to kind of game plan for what Murray State was going to be and what we got to do on Saturday and how we got to play, and I could, we have one assistant that does the scout, but I'm obviously doing each one with them. So I kind of have, so I can go into a game and understand what we want to do on both sides of the ball. And so we met, we, taught defensive stuff and then offensive stuff with the different assistants that are, responsible for that, and came with a game plan. And then our team met, and we usually always try to, we always talk about in season, we're in 3 modes. We're last night we were competing. And then today we're learning from the competition. Win or lose, we want to really take all the lessons, from that competition. Just like the Drake's a great example. That shot hits the back iron, win that game, and it makes the bus ride that much more enjoyable because it was long. But it doesn't change the previous 39 minutes and 59 seconds, right? Like what was good, what was bad, and the result shouldn't affect how you view the game. And so we want to learn from each experience, and then you shift right into preparation mode. And in season, you're in those 3 modes. You should be competing, you should be learning, and then you should be preparing for your next competition. All the, extraneous noise and all the stuff surrounding it, you got to kind of, where you are in the race, this and that. If you kind of lift your head up or start looking around you, I think that's, where things can kind of get off the track. So, we met as a team, watched, I clipped it up. They had individual film with their coaches, and they watched that. Just, hey, these are things. And then there was, a few themes with the team that I thought, and after a game, this is why we won, and here's areas we can be better in, right? So, things we did really well, things we, need to improve on. And then we walk straight to the court, and you go through, we don't practice a day after games, nothing physical. It's a mental day, neck up day. And so we went through and walked through the game plan. I talked, them through how we're going to guard different stuff, what the game plan is defensively, offensively. And then, Bryston took them through the main stuff that Murray State does set-wise. And then we went back in the film room and we watched some personnel clips on Murray State and cut those guys loose. So their day was pretty short. They were in there for about an hour total. Our day to get ready for that hour was obviously a lot longer. But, at the end of the day, as you get into this part of the season, I think the whole key is to make sure your team is playing with fresh legs and a clear mind. And what I mean by that is, everybody's tired and beat up at this point, and our season, we actually started in June. People don't realize that. We start practicing in June. Right. And so, we've been going for 8 months right now. It's a long season. And there's still hopefully a ways to go, right? So, but if we can get our guys to get to games with fresh legs, feeling good physically, as good as they can physically, and a clear mind relative to this is what we're trying to do, offensively, defense. This is the game plan. We understand like what we're trying to do execution-wise. We feel like, that's the best you can do here as you get into February. Fresh legs, clear mind, every single game. So minimize the practice, do a lot of the preparation through film, get their minds right. And then tomorrow we'll go hard and try to, do what we talked about live tomorrow. So when we do have to do it for real, the lights on Saturday, we're ready.
Yeah, and Saturday, big game. We've been talking about it. And these home games have had really impressive crowds this season. In other seasons, too, there's been those games that, people show out for. But this season, it really feels like there's a really strong backing. And that's so great to see. How does that affect, the team? And what does that mean for you in your second season to see so much support? And yes, the success is happening on the court. But even during, the losing streak, people still came out and people still wanted to come because they believe in the program. What does that mean to you?
The world. I think, it's. I've been just blown away by the support. Obviously, I only have this is my second year here, so I don't have great, context in terms of, what it was, 5 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever. But, even the difference from this year to last year. Is significant, with the amount of people and the atmosphere and the energy. And, I got here 22 months ago, and there's a lot of days, it's a hard process building something from scratch. And, we did have to build it from scratch because when I got here, there were only 2 players on the roster.
Right.
So while the program itself wasn't some sort of train wreck by any stretch, it was actually they'd won a lot of games and been successful. Everybody was gone, and so however you spin it, you really walk in and there was 2 players who combined to average 3 points a game. We were in the middle of a pandemic and, everything from everything was gutted. And so it's a painful, difficult process. Went through that last year, lost a lot of close games, piecemeal the roster together. So when you come out and the whole goal is to really try to build a program that, people here can be proud of. And I really, I feel that responsibility every day because I know, this community being in it reminds me a lot of where I was for 13 years, in Harrogate, Tennessee. And it's blue collar people, it's good people. It's people that have earned everything they've gotten. There's a work mentality. There's an underdog mentality. They don't want anything handed to them mentality. And, Indiana State basketball is not a program where anything's going to be handed to it. There's no yellow brick road for us. We got to, earn everything we have. And so to see them come out, to see them support it, to see them care about the program, to have the crowds we've had, it's really, it makes the effort worth it because that's ultimately, what you want. You do it to build something that they can be proud of, not just certainly with how you win, because that's obviously the most important part, because without that, nothing else matters. But hopefully how our guys are in the classroom, we just got a school record GPA, first semester with a 3.178 and how we handle ourselves in the community. Right. And so, but to have their backing and that has been by far to me at Indiana State, the last 22 months, the coolest part of the job has been the people in the community and getting to know them and seeing how much they care about ISU in general. Right. ISU athletics and basketball, of course, is a huge part of the fabric here.
Big chance on Saturday, a national televised game, 4:00 against Murray State. Second crack against the Racers, too. Mm-hmm. We were talking earlier, the Valley standings, a game separates the top 8 teams. It's insane. Your thoughts as you get set for another good Murray State team who had a big game with Belmont just last night?
Yeah, it's, we just played them, 11 days ago, 12 days ago now. It'll be, 2 weeks on Saturday on ironically on CBS as well. It's going to be a really big test for us. They're really good. They just had a huge win over Belmont last night, beat Missouri State the game before. They're right in the mix. And so, I think we feel like, we played poorly there at Murray State. We shot 5 for 30 from 3 and 12 for 20 from the line. And I thought we got good shots, just didn't play very well, but we also allowed them to do exactly what they want to do. Like a big part of winning is you're not always going to play great, but you can't let your opponent play great. And the better team you play, if you're playing a great team and you let them play their best, it's going to be very hard to win. So a big part of winning is making the other team play poorly. We didn't do that at all. They're what Murray State wants to do. The things they do well, we let them do everything. They got 16 points in trans, 14 offensive rebounds, got the free throw line 33 times. They outscored us 28-12 from the free throw line. You have a box out there. They checked every one. So in terms of what they want to do. So I hope we can obviously play better, but I also hope we do a better job of making them not, have their A game. And, but yeah, every game here has, at this point, for the 8 of us that are, playing in it, and I think the other teams as well, has meaning and context. And so to have a meaningful home game in February where you're in the race for a conference championship, I think that's cool. And I hope that I believe the fans will come out and hopefully be our best crowd of the year. And our guys will feed off that, and certainly a great opportunity for us to show off the Holman Center, our crowd support, and it's a great opportunity from a recruiting standpoint. There's going to be a lot of recruits tuned into that game, and to see a great crowd, to see, what I think is as good a facility as there is in Missouri Valley, will be a great opportunity for us to showcase our program on a national stage.
Yeah, ISU's doing a great job with $3 tickets I saw in the upper bowl. Hopefully it's a big crowd on Saturday. We can't wait. Yeah. There's some other questions we can't wait to ask you, Coach. I know Nicole's got one. Yeah. Let's talk about outside the basketball court. We know Nicole knocked it out right away.
Yeah, 22 months. So you've had your pick of, there's a lot of great restaurants in Terre Haute, a lot of great local ones too. You don't see a ton of chains around here, which is great. You're going out for a night out and you're picking a good spot to eat. Where are you going?
Oh, man.
Not to put you on the spot.
No,
kind of to put you on the spot.
I'm a foodie, so obviously, so that's my favorite thing. It depends, but there's a ton. Like, obviously, I love sushi, so Umi is about as good as it gets.
Yep.
I don't think you go wrong with J. Ford's and Stables if you want a steak and have a great night. I mean, you could go through here. I mean, Barbasco, if you want Italian, I mean, is fantastic. Magdi's. I mean, I've hit them all. So
right.
There's not that's one of the coolest things here is, for me, obviously, food and wine's been a huge part of my life. Absolutely. So, and when you're in a, now this is not a small town to me, but this is kind of a small town.
Yeah.
To have as many good food spots and wine spots is remarkable.
Oh, yeah.
And to be able to go out and, everybody's like, oh, how often do you go to Indy? I'm like, really never, because why?
Right.
If I want to go have a great meal, I can do it here. What can I get in Terre Haute? So I've been in Indy very few times. I mean, so I don't see a huge, St. Elmo's or, versus I'd just as fine drive 5 minutes and go to J. Ford's or Stables, or like I said, I'm a huge sushi guy, so Umi, but and then you just not even dinner, but Indian, Taj Mahal, lemongrass, Thai. I mean, I can go through the gamut of restaurants here and hit them all. Charlie's for a burger.
Oh yeah.
I think I've touched the Tweety, the Tweety bird. I have hit, I think, every spot here in town. So that's been amazing to me is how good the food spots are, and they're all, like you said, all local.
Yeah, local people that are just, like you said, they've earned that credit that they're getting. So we love to see it. Yeah.
And I've been to Terminal yet, but I'm going to hit that one. That's my
great.
next on
it's
the.
Really
I've heard it's really good.
The ahi tuna poke nachos.
Really? That's
delicious.
Really?
Delicious.
Oh
yep.
my gosh.
We're going to have to turn this hoop podcast into a food podcast.
If we could do a food and wine podcast, I'd be, let's do that.
Test.
We could do that. Go be food critics.
Making me hungry
What you got,
already.
Grant?
I was going to ask, Coach, are you superstitious or a little stitious? I feel like a lot of coaches, sometimes they're superstitious. Is there certain things you have to do on a game day, or, will you wear the same, shoes, mix it up? Take us through, let's pick your brain a little bit on stuff like that, because I feel like some coaches, I'm a little superstitious myself sometimes as a fan.
Yeah, I think I'm a little stitious, there's probably certain things I'll be like, if we wore, baby blue uniforms, but I'm not more like, I got to wear the same underwear for a winning streak, or that'd be gross. Or I haven't, I don't shower or whatever, nothing like that. But, it'd be more of, man, we've, last, 3 times worn baby blue, we've won, let's do that. Or I always, Natalia will bring me, I have a piece of gum when I walk out, and I'll usually get one in the locker room before the game, then one when I walk out, and so I don't know if that's, and I got to spit it out before we tip, so I guess that's a superstition.
I've noticed that. I've noticed you take a big drink of water sometimes right before the game tips too. That's good though.
Yeah, those are superstitions, I guess. But that would be it. I have no I'm going to wear this outfit or that outfit, or or a lucky suit, or ultimately, you say it and you kind of believe it, but at the end of the day, I don't know how much that stuff helps you, but I don't do anything that's going to hurt us either,
Right, absolutely.
So I always think coaches, any sport, doesn't matter, but coaches, we can only lose games. We can't win them. Coaches can screw it up and, maybe, not have them prepared or not be ready or not make adjustments, but players win games. So, it's what they do inside the lines. You can only, as a coach, lose a game for your team. You can never, so I never am like, so but I do want to make sure I don't do anything to screw it up. So if the gum or the water or whatever, the superstitions, if that doesn't mess anything up, then I'm all for it. Yeah, right.
The powder blues look good too.
Yeah,
so
they
we always
do.
like seeing them. And the
we're
black
always a
look
big fan
good
of
for the
those.
cancer game. I mean, that, uniforms nowadays compared to 15, 20 years ago with and ISU having the Under Armour deal, the uniforms look good.
Yeah, they're a huge deal, and I've really tried to, I know we've tried to bring the powder blue back because I loved them, and I didn't know. I was like, man, why, can we wear them? Is it? And they was like, yeah, So I think we've worn them. We'll wear them on Saturday.
Good.
On TV, but I think those have been worn as much as any uniform this year, and hopefully they'll be as primary a color as we have with the white and the royal, and then the blackout cancer. We're able to. We wanted to add the pink to it, to incorporate. Obviously people tend to separate, men's and women's, but to me it's whether it's breast cancer or prostate cancer or whatever we're talking about, just cancer in general. I think having the blackout's great, but I wanted to incorporate the pink into it and make sure we were, hitting everybody. So those turned out good, and we'll wear those again on, I think on the 18th against Illinois State. So
awesome.
We'll have a second game with those blackout uniforms on as well.
It worked well the first time. Finally, Coach, we're going to turn the mic over to you. We're always, it's our job to ask questions to coaches.
Sure.
You guys, now you ask us whatever you want. Ask me a question, ask Nicole a question. We did this to Coach Mal when he was here, other coaches. We're always asking you questions, so free reign. Ask whatever you want to ask.
What do you want to know?
What do you want to know? You can put us on the spot.
Put on the spot. All right. I'll go, I guess, Grant first. What's been your favorite memory covering a sport? Like, what's the coolest thing you've covered?
Ooh.
Oh man, there's several though. That's a great question. To me, I've had a couple of big ones at Holman Center. I had just started here in 2011 when ISU won Arch Madness. And covered part of that. And then, the high school, the camaraderie with high school around here, when you have a small town team, that literally the team puts the town on its back. They go to a state championship game. They win a state championship. I think of North Romaine football, Linton football, teams like that. When you get the community together, the same can be said with Indiana State because, as you said, the people here, it's a blue-collar town and feel. And when everyone kind of comes together and they win a championship game, it's so something like that would probably be the state championship game, the sectional games, or the big ones that come to mind.
That's awesome. No, that's cool. And then, because I can see what I was talking about restaurants. So,
yeah.
All right, your favorite meal in town? Like you had meal, last meal.
Oh man,
what are you doing? And you got to eat out.
I like it, putting her on the spot.
Like all these good ideas that you came up with. Okay, well I'm gonna go casual, and then I'm gonna go like fancy.
Okay,
so
I'm with it.
We love a good date night at Poloni's for a fancy Italian dinner. We love Poloni's. All of the Italian restaurants are great in town, but that's where we went, I think, on our first Valentine's Day dinner, so it kind of has a little special feel. So if we're going fancier, we'll do that. And then going out just for like a bite to eat, oh man, there are so many good ones. We love Charlie's, and we also actually that Rick's Garage out by Idle Creek is a good spot too. Great spot to watch a game too.
Okay.
So and really, there's no bad. Oh,
Sanka.
Sanka. We do love Sanka. Oh, yeah.
Grant
and I both
too.
See, you start to talk about it, and you just have more and more, and there's more I'm forgetting. So.
I forgot about Poloni's. Poloni's is great too.
Yeah. So lot of great spots. I did have one final question, just because I thought it would be fun to ask. You spent so many years in Tennessee. I don't know how much you know about Grant's fandom with the Vols, but it's pretty intense.
Pretty intense.
What are your thoughts on the Vols? And the relationship is not in question here, no matter how you answer. But I'm curious, spending so much time not far from there.
Yeah, love Tennessee. I love Knoxville. I think it's Knoxville's probably like one of my. If I could like retire somewhere, I think Knoxville would be the top of the list of places to retire. It's first off, you have no state tax in Tennessee, which is nice. The weather is great. I mean, it's. I had no idea when I moved. I came up for the press conference. And I was thinking, Indiana, Tennessee, how much difference could it be? A couple degrees. I thought it'd be colder, but not. I was oh my God. When I came up in March for that press conference, I was frozen. I didn't bring the right clothes. I mean, I was in the middle of the NCAA tournament. Sure. I wasn't checking weather. I was frozen. And so I guess the mountains there, take the wind off a little bit. So, but no, I love UT. I think it's the school itself, and then you watch the success they're having. I mean, football. under Josh Heupel, basketball under Rick Barnes. Women's basketball has always been amazing there. I mean, Pat Summitt, obviously one of the all-time great coach any sport. But even now with Kelly Harper there, I mean, you go through baseball.
Yeah,
there is really good, and their academics are terrific.
Yeah.
Beautiful campus, and like I said, Knoxville is a city that 100% I could see myself. Hopefully, when I get to a point when I can retire, that I mean, and I know we've all been there, but the mountains, the rivers, the weather, it's pretty hard to beat Knoxville, Tennessee.
Well, I knew you'd answer whatever you said it was going to be good, but I think Grant's going to be happy with that one.
100%. Coach Schertz nailed it. Thanks for taking some time to come on this week's show. I know you're a busy man. Me. Murray State at ISU Saturday, 4 o'clock on CBS Sports. But we don't want to see you watching on TV. We want to see you at Holman Center. Pack the Holman Center. It's a big game with Valley implications. We are back with Going to the Hoop podcast right after a look at our top plays of the week. Welcome back to our Going to the Hoop podcast. Big thanks to Coach Schertz for the ISU men's basketball team. They got back early this morning after the win at Evansville for taking some time to join us on this Thursday. They got a big one against Murray State on Saturday afternoon.
They sure do. And do you feel like you made a new best friend since he loves Knoxville so much? Right? I feel like you guys are going to get like a double condo and retire together down there. Right? I don't know.
Who doesn't love Knoxville so much? And the nice thing about Knoxville, it's not that far from where we are here in Terre Haute in Farmersburg. There's a lot of college basketball. We've touched on that. We still got some big high school basketball. Yeah. Sectional semifinals will happen on Friday. A couple of sectional semifinals. We're not sure what's going to happen because Linton and Eastern Green play tonight along with North Knox and Mitchell. That's stacked to a sectional in Eastern Green. But your thoughts kind of as we look into sectional on Friday. Northview hasn't seen action yet. They're going to get going Friday night right away.
Yeah, it's, we've got these in front of us. It's nice to kind of look through and see so many different teams that have an opportunity to, play each other, see what they're made of against out-of-towners too. Northview, they're going to have it stacked against them. I mean, they've got Indian Creek there. They make it past Brown County. They're most likely going to have to play Indian Creek. And the last time that they matched up against those girls, it was rough, and it is. I mean, they're a big, aggressive team. Like they're really impressive to watch. And Northview has their great moments and their great players as well too. But I'm pulling for them. Of course, you're pulling for your local teams, but
always.
that one will be kind of tough, I think, to beat Indian Creek. 2A, of course, we're going to see somebody come out of that from our area. Most likely, I think we're thinking North Knox or Linton. But Sullivan looked good last night, and
with a big win against South Knox.
Able to get that. I think they had lost to South Knox earlier in the season, so getting that revenge win, we always like to see that. So I'm interested to see how the 2A plays out, of course, because that's where most of our local teams are. But I know you mentioned something, too, about the Class A. Vincennes Rivet and Bar Reeve, those two programs, you can never count them out of, having successful nights. And we might be able to see those two maybe even play each other in that and make it out of that sectional, see where one of them can go.
Shout out to Park Heritage too. They had a big win last night. They're going to be hopefully playing they'd like to be playing in the championship on Saturday. We'll have to wait and see at the Greencastle sectional against South Putnam. Got Cloverdale and Greencastle in the opening game there. And then the Bloomfield sectional it's going to be fun. WRV almost came back on Clay City the other night, and so Clay City was able to beat them by 1. So we got North Central. They beat Shakamak in overtime. So someone's going to come out of the Bloomfield sectional on Saturday night as well. All these sectional championship games, you can catch the semifinals on Friday, going to the Hoop right here, WTWO at 11 p.m. And then, of course, sectional championship night Saturday to go along with ISU against Murray State and IU against Purdue.
Big day.
Terre Haute North boys are at home. West Vigo's at home against Park Heritage. Terre Haute South at home. There's a bunch of games going on. We can't wait to see as basketball rolls into February. And then tonight, it's going to air in our newscast that we're doing this evening. It's going to be on our website, a special story you shot with the Robinson Maroons this week.
Yeah, it's a great story. And, you never want anything bad to happen to anybody, right? That's the statement, of course. But having the Law family allow me to tell their story, and Blaine, of course, coming up on a year since he was diagnosed with leukemia, his twin brother Cooper, of course, on the team with him, Coach Mack, just a great leader there, really cares about his guys as all of these high school coaches do. Getting to talk to the 3 of them for this story, it was amazing. Their mom, Andrea, she sent me a lot of photos and was excited. It's just one of those really inspiring stories I think people will take away from it. And tomorrow, senior night at Robinson will be there. So that'll be exciting to see those 2 on their senior night and the rest of the seniors as well. And then on Saturday, they're having a Coaches vs. Cancer game that they're going to be hosting. So that'll be great too, to help out the Buckets for Blaine Foundation, which is going to help other teens that find out that they have blood cancer as well. So great story, if I do say so myself.
It was a great story.
A
Thanks
wonderful, wonderful family.
The story. Yeah, thanks to them for sharing, and thanks to you for having that great story. You can catch it on our website, WTWO.MyWildBashValley.com. It's going to be on the air as well. Any final thoughts as we close out another exciting week of a couple of girls teams are going to cut down the net Saturday night.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'm excited to see who makes it through there, and then we're headed on to the next chapter. And it's crazy to think we were talking to Coach Schertz about how Arch Madness is,
less than a month
days
away. Yeah.
And that means that boys sectionals is that same weekend. It kicks off, I think. So we're just
can't wait.
We're talking about the thick of it. You call it the bread and butter. I love that. It really is. It's just this great time of year when you get to see all these hoopers out there. So excited to see who's cutting down the nets, though.
All that bread and butter talk and restaurant talk with you and Coach Schertz has us
hungry.
We got to get some food in here. Hey, for Nicole, for Luke, for Coach Schertz, thanks for watching this week's Going to the Hoop podcast. We'll see you next time.